Hello and welcome, welcome. I'm Emma Churchman, spiritual teacher and success mentor. I'm really glad that y'all are here for today's training. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about how to get the universe to manifest on your behalf. Always a fun topic. And I feel honored to be able to serve you all in this way. So the purpose of this training is to understand how to catalyze the universe to act on your behalf to manifest the results that you really want. And we're going to unpack what happens when your ego is running the show in your business versus your soul, and how to distinguish the two, because that's the question that I get from people. That's one of probably the top 10 questions that I get. How do you know when a decision or an action or an idea or an inspiration is coming from your ego versus coming from your soul? So we're going to talk about that. Before we dive into the training, let's go ahead and set an intention for today. So go ahead and set the intention for what you would love to receive from today's training, being a full body yes, to receive whatever is in your highest good for today. Choose that you're going to learn something that's going to help you catalyze the universe to act on your behalf, to act on your desire. And of course, as always, as you're listening to this training, comment below. Let me know how this topic is landing with you. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know what inspirations or ideas you have as a result of hearing me talk about this really cool topic. All right, let's begin with this framework. You are the creator of your reality. So this might be a little bit confrontational for some of you, right? This idea that everything that exists in your current reality exists because at some level you caused it. And the first time I had a mentor say that to me, I was standing in front of a room, I was standing with a microphone with my mentor, probably like 30 people behind me watching my ass, right, as I'm being coached. And I'm talking about something that was a pretty traumatic experience for me to have. And his response was, well, you caused it. And my first reaction in my mind was, F you, you don't know what you're talking about, right? And then I had to sit with it a while and unpack it. And the place that I got to as I sat with that coaching, which was not delivered well, by the way, could have been delivered a totally different way. But where I came to was this just gorgeous permission, this gorgeous opportunity to reframe the experiences that I've had in my life to really allowing me to be this very empowered, very strong, very purpose-driven person who is impacting thousands of people in this world through the work that I do, right? But it took that recognition that in any moment, we get to decide how we are interpreting what's happening to our reality, and that we have the full capacity to change our reality and our reaction to it and the action we take in it. It was a game changer for me, right? And that's the first year that I had breakout sales in my business, really looking at how I am the cause of my reality. And that's really what inspired me to want to do this training with you all, to give you some foundational understanding for how to get the universe to manifest on your behalf. Because game on, when it happens, it's like magic. And it starts with you. All right, so you are the cause of your reality. You have unconsciously committed to your current reality. Your life today is the logical consequence of the choices, decisions, actions that you've made. And as souls, ideally, we're always making choices that support our divine self-expression. Or sometimes we make choices that negate our divine self-expression. And I'm being very intentional about that language support versus negate our divine self-expression, because the universe doesn't judge, right? The universe doesn't say, oh, that choice that she made is good and that choice that he made is bad, right? The universe provides this very kind of neutral platform for the choices and the actions and the decisions that we make. And ideally, we're choosing what supports our highest good, our divine self-expression. So here's the thing. Of course, the universe wants abundance for you. The universe is always for more life. That's the foundation of all teachings around universal law. However, this is the thing. The universe will give you an abundance of lack and scarcity, just as much as the universe will give you an abundance of wealth and opportunity, right? Abundance is always present. It's like a spectrum, right? And we're always somewhere on that spectrum with creating abundance. So when you say to yourself, why am I not in abundance? The truth is you are in abundance. You just happen to be in an iteration of it, a version of it that is not the form of abundance that you would choose to seek. But if you're experiencing currently a level, an abundance of lack and scarcity, you're on the spectrum, right? You know how to create abundance. Now it's just pivoting your attention towards the type of abundance that would most support your divine self-expression. And of course, what you receive from the universe has a lot to do with the choices, actions, and decisions that you make. So that's where the ego and the soul really come into play. And that's why you really want to differentiate what is ego, what is egoic action, decision, choice, versus what is soul-inspired action, decision, and choice. And sometimes when we're in the muck, right, when we're in the thick of it, when we're deep in the forest and can't even see the trees through the forest, to use that analogy, it can be challenging to differentiate what is ego versus what is soul. Because your ego is really well steeped in making choices that negate your divine self-expression, whereas your soul is very well versed in making choices that support your divine self-expression. Your ego is a human construct. And your ego, here's the distinction that not a lot of teachers are talking about. The distinction is that your ego wants to create separation from the universe, from God, from spirit, from all that is and all that ever will be, right? Whereas your soul wants to create connection, wants to be in relationship with the universe and your divinity. So without ego, though, there would be no differentiated experience. We'd all be exactly the same. So the ego is actually important in that it creates individuation in this human construct, right? It allows us to have independent separateness, right? And your ego sometimes will take that a little bit to the extreme. All right, meanwhile, your soul is inherently connected to the universe, and there's no separation between you and the universe until you understand that the universe is abundant and only wants abundance for you, and that you are the universe. You will never experience the level of positive abundance that you're capable of. So here's the framework. My dog's trying to get into my office. Here's the framework that I want to use from this, want you all to use from this point forward. You are a spiritual being living in a physical body. You're a spiritual being living in a physical body. Nothing in the universe is outside of spirit. Everything is created within spirit, and you are a part of spirit. You are the center of your own universe. Everything in your experience is revolving around you. So This is where folks who are spiritually oriented can get a little bit tripped up because we have this really funky interpretation of the way the universe is working, right? If you believe that you are responding to the universe and that the universe is guiding you, you have got it backwards, right? So let me say that again because you might want to write this down. If you believe that you are responding to the universe and that the universe is guiding you, you have it backwards. This is a huge paradigm shift for a lot of conscious entrepreneurs, for a lot of spirit-led entrepreneurs. Yeah, Jenny was going to say, please repeat. Yeah, absolutely. It's not that the universe is guiding you, right? You are as powerful as the universe. You are the universe. You are God. As Quakers, we talk about how there is that of God in each person. And that's very literal. You are made of God-like substance. You are as powerful, as all-knowing, as all-loving, as all-abundant, as the universe, as God. What happens, though, is we come into these human forms and we get confused because our societies, our culture tell us that we can't be that close to that which is eternal, to that which is all-knowing, to that which is all-powerful. Our human constructs create separation because that's what ego does. It creates separation. So in this journey of becoming abundant, of experiencing abundance, there's a remembering that needs to happen, remembering how powerful and how much possibility each of us hold, even as we're hanging out in these human bodies. So here's where things get really interesting. When you treat the ego, which is the false self, right? Which is the self that chooses separateness, as if it were your true self, as if it were your soul, this creates incoherence in your intentions, right? Because your ego self, which is created from separation, cannot be in unity with the universe. The universe cannot manifest on behalf of your ego. Let me say that again. The universe cannot manifest on behalf of your ego. The universe can only manifest on behalf of your soul because your soul is intricately and intimately connected with the universe. There's no separation. But the universe is always going to respond, regardless of whether it's your ego or your soul setting intentions and taking actions. The universe is always going to respond because it's neutral, it's non-judgmental. The universe doesn't judge anything that we do. If you want to feel like a victim, the universe will bend reality to give you that experience of being victimized. Right? It's not judging your thoughts or your actions. It's simply reflecting them back to you, mirroring them back to you, lovingly and without judgment. That can be really hard to hear, right? When we get so clear within ourselves that our actions are always mirrored back to us from the universe, that can feel really overwhelming at first. But then it feels incredibly freeing. Angie's saying, wow, I'm getting chills. Yeah. Yep. Your intentions are really friggin' powerful. The universe doesn't judge them. Here's another thing that I want you to write down. You cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. You cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. A fellow Quaker minister first said that to me over 20 years ago, and I heard it, but I didn't fully process what she was saying. I thought that she was just doing like spiritual whitewashing or spiritual bypassing, which a lot of spiritual teachers teach, right? They're like, well, just be positive. just only allow yourself to think and feel positive thoughts and, take joyful actions and just ignore the fear and eventually it'll go away. That is not at all what I am saying. I don't think that you can have some emotions in isolation and then not have others. I think if you're squelching down fear, anger, frustration, all of those emotions, you're also squelching down joy, fun, laughter, freedom. You can't like individuate which emotions get attention because we're whole beings. We have a whole gamut of emotions that we experience on a daily basis. So this isn't about just be positive all the time, just think positive things all the time. So after decades of sitting with this mantra, you cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. What I've learned is that there are many, many, many perspectives on any situation. And our gorgeous giant brains are constantly interpreting our circumstances, right? Our brains are always looking for evidence to back whatever stories we're telling ourselves. Sometimes we tell ourselves really great stories like, I'm in flow, I'm manifesting, sales are always flowing into my business, it's easy and joyful to deliver to my clients and customers. I love being the CEO of my business and taking risks every day, right? We could tell ourselves that story. We can tell ourselves the story of, I haven't had a sale in 5 minutes and my business is obviously failing, right? We're constantly making up stories because that's what we do. So there's always a new perspective available. So as soon as a negative thought starts to take root in your consciousness, you want to really pay attention to that, because if that negative thought of, oh my God, my business is failing, oh my God, my relationship is failing, if that takes root, the actions that you take from that thought are going to be way different than if you had the thought, of course, my business is always expanding and growing, or of course, the love that I have for my partner is always deepening and growing, right? There are different types of actions you would take from that second set of thoughts than from that first set of thoughts. So we want to be really disciplined about the types of thoughts that we have because they impact the types of actions that we take. And the universe responds to your actions over everything else. That's another thing that gets totally confused in the world of various people teaching how to manifest. The universe responds to your actions more than anything else. It doesn't care what your thoughts are, right? Your thoughts are simply informing your actions. It cares what your actions are. So you can think, oh my God, I'm super afraid I'm not going to pay my bills this month. But if your action comes from, of course, I'm going to be able to pay my bills this month. Of course, it's not a big deal to generate $200,000 this month in my business, right? If your actions are based on soul inspired thoughts and ideas, the universe is going to respond to that. So you can have the fear, you can feel the fear, but what you really want to be looking at is, how does my emotional state, how do my thoughts inform the types of actions that I am taking? That's a game changer for some of us who are in this practice of manifestation, to really focus on the actions more than the thoughts. All right, so let's look at what happens when we have conflicting intentions, right? When we're in lack and scarcity, but we want abundance, we want money flowing into our business, we want to have an abundance of wealth in our lives and in our businesses, but we're feeling lack and scarcity. So a really clear example of this that I see play out with a lot of entrepreneurs is that they say they want success. They say they want to be even more visible. They want to serve even more people. They want to grow their businesses even more. but they don't want the rejection or judgment or responsibility or fear of losing success that comes with the possibility of achieving success, right? So all these potential problems of success, which haven't even happened yet, feel like potential failures to us. So how could the universe possibly fulfill both intentions, wanting success, but not wanting to experience the potential of rejection or judgment or overwhelm or responsibility or fear, right? So the universe is like, okay, this person wants this one thing over here, but they also want this other thing over here. And the universe can't fulfill conflicting intentions. So the result is that that person stays stagnant. They are not growing and they stay super confused about what to do in their business, what actions to take, because they're giving themselves and they're giving the universe mixed messages. So if you're stagnating in your business, you might want to look at whether or not you are having conflicting intentions, whether or not you're telling yourself one thing, but actually believing something else. Now imagine that you have not just two conflicting intentions, but dozens of intentions that are at odds with each other. This causes so much drama, so much messiness, and so much lack of results, right? Because we can't be in confusion and get any kind of coherent result. And that often happens when our egos are running our businesses, because our ego is always looking for where's the fear, where's the problem, right? Our soul is always looking for where's the abundance, where's the purpose. So that's why you really want to understand the distinction between your ego and your soul in your decision making and in the actions that you take, because your soul isn't inherently afraid of anything. Your soul, just like the universe, is always for more life, right? So a couple of tips that I want to share with you for really ensuring that your soul is leading your business instead of your ego. First, you want to get calibrated with your soul. So you want to understand that your soul is whole and complete, that your soul does not experience fear, that it only desires to fulfill its purpose. Your soul's purpose, by the way, you might want to write this down, is to always express your divinity into your humanity. That's the whole thing that souls are doing here on this planet, translating our divinity into our humanity. Your ego's purpose is to create a sense of separation and a sense of individuation. So you want to really make sure that you're tuning into your soul and its purpose for being here as you're considering new actions to take in your business. So then the question is, okay, Emma, how do I know when it's soul and how do I know when it's ego telling me to do something? For me, there's a very clear physical distinction, and this is true for the majority of my clients. So for me, when I have an inspired idea that's coming from my soul, it feels like an opening in my chest. I can feel my chest expanding. I can feel myself sitting up taller or standing up taller. When it's coming from my ego, it feels like a contraction in my stomach. And usually, if it's coming from my soul, the first thought that I have once the inspired idea comes through is, ooh, isn't that interesting? And if it comes from ego, usually the first thought I have is, oh my God, this is going to be so hard, right? So really noticing what your physical reaction is to the ideas that you have about the growth of your business and learning to differentiate between what is ego and what is soul is a game changer. Another tip that I have for you is to become aware of the unconscious. What I mean by that is that you want to really notice when you are in that energy of lack and scarcity, and to really see that pattern clearly, to bring some consciousness to it, right? So you've got racy brain, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're checking your bank account, you're worried about money. Those are symptoms that you're in lack and scarcity. So just notice your patterns around that, and notice what you tend to do when you're experiencing lack and scarcity. A good example of this is someone who wants to be in abundance, right? Who's really got a poverty mentality. And this happens for folks who grew up in lower income families or middle income families. They'll have this poverty consciousness of, oh, if I can just look like people who are abundant, then I too will be abundant. And what they'll do is they'll go out and they'll spend money that they don't have with no return on investment, right? So they will go on this fabulous vacation, or they'll buy a luxury car that immediately depreciates, or a luxury house that immediately depreciates. And they'll make these purchases believing that this what seems to be material wealth will give them that experience of feeling abundant. But what it does is it puts them in debt that they don't have an easy way to crawl out of. It's not like investing in coaching where there's a return, right? I'm going to put this dollar amount into a mentoring package with someone who's going to help me grow my business and make more money, right? Versus I'm going to buy this really pricey car that's going to depreciate by $20,000 when I drive it off of the lot, and I'm going to spend the next 5 years trying to pay it off, right? So that's a coping mechanism to try to make yourself feel better about your current financial circumstances, and it doesn't work because it just puts you deeper in debt, and then you feel even more lack and scarcity. So the lesson here is that if you want a greater flow of money into your life, you've got to start by addressing and releasing the poverty consciousness that you're walking around with every day. So your outer world is nothing more than a manifestation of your inner world. So you start by changing the thoughts that you're having, by changing the types of actions that you're having. So a couple of questions that I'll often ask my private clients when they're not in the best headspace is I'll say something like, okay, well, what's the easiest way to generate sales right now, or to generate sales this month in your business? Which is kind of a paradigm shift, right? Like, oh, I have to find the easiest way, not the hardest way. That energy of this has to be hard comes from lack and scarcity, right? The energy of ease comes from abundance. So you want to look at what's the energy behind the questions that you're asking. Another question that you might ask is, if I knew this were already done, if I knew that I had already achieved this goal, what actions would I take today? Another way of phrasing it is, how would my 7-figure self, or my 6-figure self, or my multi-7-figure self respond to this situation in front of me right now? Because that version of you might respond differently than the current version of you. So there are ways to ask questions to reframe what's happening that puts you more into that flow of abundance. And that is what really allows the universe to manifest on your behalf. Because when you are in possibility, when you are taking actions from the energy of possibility and expectation, lo and behold, guess what gets reflected back to you from the universe? All right, you've got great tools already from this live, from how to work with the universe and how to really focus on what's ego versus what's soul, how to identify what thoughts and what actions to take that create that connection with the universe. And at a basic level, if you're still feeling stuck, this can just look like sitting down, quieting your mind, and feeling, and journaling about what's coming up as you're imagining creating a stronger connection with the universe. Really see if you can unpack what's going on, what thoughts are occurring to you that are keeping you in a place that you don't want to be. And then just start noticing when your ego or your false self is making decisions or taking action in your business versus your soul. And as always, if you would like support with this, if you're ready to dive deeper and to really get in the flow, stay in the flow, and let your soul do its purpose-filled work in the world, and you're interested in mentoring with me, the next step is to go to emmachurchman.com/abundance. On that page, you can learn about my 2-week one-on-one private intensive. That's the first way to work with me privately. And there's an application there. This is a program that's by application only. And I only work with between 2 and 4 people each month, depending on my availability in this 2-week intensive. There's usually a waiting list. So if this is something that's been on your mind for a while, you might want to go ahead and apply to get your spot secured for this fall. All right, you all, it's been wonderful to be with you. Many blessings to you. Bye for now.